Thank you for having me. So we are going to talk about the dynamics of delegation, and I think we've probably all been at that point in our career where there's more and more to do, and it just gets so much that we need to start working and delivering through other people, and we're told that's great, just delegate, and that's way easier to say than it is to actually implement. And if I had £1 or $1 for every time somebody told me they'd tried delegation but it didn't work, I'd be very rich and I probably wouldn't be here today. So what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about what delegation really is. We're going to chat through some of the things that can go wrong. And then we're going to focus on giving you a framework for delegating effectively that can work either with your own team, or if you're working in a project environment with the people you're working with, or even with volunteers. And I must say I've used it with friends and family when I've needed to move things around in my working world and my other world too. So that's what we're going to cover. So we're going to start with what delegation really is. And as I've said, we all know it's about getting other people to do things. And it's a key way to lighten our own workload. But actually, it's much more than that. It's one of the key acts of leadership that we have. When we're working with people, we have 3 roles that we need to cover. We need to lead, and that is set direction and show where we're going as a team. We need to manage and get things done, and we need to develop other people so that they can take on more of that workload and grow their own careers. And if you think of those as 3 circles that overlap as a Venn diagram, delegation sits in that sweet spot that's in the middle, because the more time we can spend in that middle zone of those 3 circles, the more effective we can be with our time and with our mental energy and effort. And let's face it, with the world as it is today, we need to be effective and efficient in what we're doing. So delegation really is a key leadership action. And the reason I say that is because it sets the tone for your leadership and why people should work with you and be around you in their working worlds. And particularly now we're all working in very remote environments where more and more we're seeing people working from their home or from different offices. We need to be able to be really good as leaders and really good at delegating to be effective. But when we work in the same co-working space, there's a little bit of room for leeway in terms of how great we are at delegating. When everybody's working remotely and the whole team are in different locations, being really crisp and clear with this is going to make all the difference to keeping your team performing effectively and delivering what your organisation needs it to deliver. So delegation is a way to reinforce your team or your project's direction and their agenda. So when we link what we're doing to where the organisation's going or what the project's delivering, we make a much more compelling case for people to work with us on it. It's how we set what it feels like to work with us. Hopefully it's not happened to all of you, but I'm sure some of you will have experienced working for a manager or a boss who just barks orders and throws things out there and dumps them on you. And that's not great, not very motivating in the long term, and not the best way to get the best out of your team. And you've probably also worked with some people who you find yourself doing stuff and you're not quite sure how that happened, but you're really enjoying it and it's brilliant. And that's really effective, great delegation. And as leaders, I suspect that's where we'd all aspire to be. So being really good at delegation has a bottom line impact. It helps us boost performance for our businesses and for our teams so that we are doing what we need to do. And as I say, particularly at the moment where we're all dealing with so much else, being really effective and really efficient with this can help people manage their overall workloads. So it shows who we are as a leader, and I think the kind of changing tone a little bit, the other thing to remember is it's an ongoing process. It's not something you do once with somebody and you go, there you go, I've delegated, that's it. There's a whole process to get there and to keep it running, and that's what we're going to run through during this presentation. So looking at it from the other end, if we know what it is, it's also important to know what it's not. And it's not something you do once and forget. So I can't turn up and just go, here you go, Wendy, I'm delegating my presentation to you, off you go. It doesn't work like that, and we'll talk through that more. And Wendy, if you're sitting there listening, don't panic, I'm not about to do that. it's more than that. It's not just a way of offloading everything we hate doing, although that can be very tempting. It's not one size fits all, so how you delegate to different people in your team will be subtly different, and our process does cover that, so don't worry, it's one process, different tweaks. And I think the other thing to bear in mind is that it's not an easy process. It sounds, and hopefully I'm going to make it simple so you know how the process works, but sometimes the simple things, as you know, aren't the easy things, and they're things that we have to work at. And most leaders and managers I've ever worked with across the last 30 odd years have had problems with this at some point. And as you grow as a leader, how you work this process becomes a bit more how you work, but it's also something you always have to work at. So if that hasn't depressed you too much, what I'd like you to do is just think about a little bit times you've had things delegated to you and where that hasn't felt great, and some of the things that have gone wrong. Now, when I've asked people in the past what can go wrong with delegation, I get a huge, and you've probably got your own really long list of things that can go wrong, that have gone wrong when you've been the person being delegated to, or when you've been the person who's doing the delegating. But if we think about it from the perspective of the person being delegated to, that can help us as leaders and as managers not fall into some of those traps. Now, what you've got on the screen here on slide 11 is some of the things that most commonly I hear go wrong. So not knowing why something needs to be done, not having clear instructions or a clear role in that. We all know that processes can be broken down, and which bit are you delegating to me? What am I supposed to do? An absolutely huge one is people making assumptions. We're quite often divided by a common language. We think we know what the other person means, but that's not always the case. If you don't have a strong relationship with the person doing the delegating, that can make things go wrong. You maybe don't know them well enough to ask questions, or you don't feel you can, or you understand different things in terms of what they're saying. And that's very similar to having mismatched expectations, which leave everyone feeling bad. So if I think I'm doing this and I do it, and I then tell you I've done it and you go, that's not what I wanted at all, that can leave everybody feeling really, really bad. So if, for example, I was to delegate, let's just go for a really simple example, I was to delegate to you that I needed a box and I asked you to get me a box. You might bring back the most beautiful little gift box, ideal for giving away a piece of jewellery, and it's a beautiful box and you've done exactly what I've asked you, and that you've bought me a box. But if my expectation when I asked for a box was that I got a packing crate for 50 books, I'm going to be disappointed and we're all going to end up feeling bad. So that mismatch of expectations is really common, not often that clear-cut, but it's a very common problem. So I mentioned not being able to ask questions about what's being delegated. So if we use the box example, had the person...
Hi there, I hope you enjoyed that last clip. My name is Michael Maludis, and if you'd like to watch the full 60 minutes of that last webcast, while also gaining complete unlimited access to our entire library of IT learning, simply visit our subscribe page at greatpro.org/subscribe. Unlimited annual access is $199 per year, but if you use the coupon code LEARN to earn, you can drop that membership fee to just $149. That's less than $13 per month for unlimited access to over 1,000 hours of on-demand career development, covering the entire spectrum of IT management best practices, including business analysis and requirements, software development, quality and testing, risk management, process improvement, project management, and even digital transformation. But your membership doesn't just give you unlimited access to our vast learning library. You also get free access to our mobile app, as well as direct access to our network of over 300 of the world's leading IT consultants, all of whom are dedicated to putting practical knowledge at your fingertips so that you can learn more and earn more. I hope you will join me in becoming a member of the Great IT Professional and advancing your career with us. And if you're on YouTube, don't forget to hit that subscribe button above so that you get notified whenever we publish new free webcasts each week of the year. Thank you for your time and best wishes for your continued success.